Around the Block with Cody Diesbourg and Brigitte Pellerin.
Okay, positive thinking and the importance of remaining positive. There's entire libraries written about this topic. I'm sure everybody's come across at least a number of books explaining and detailing why it was important and good for you to remain positive. And that's something that I struggle with. I have a big problem with remaining positive, and so I am here to learn, Sensei. I would like to start first in the dojo and in the karate context and in the context of teaching and learning. Why is it so important to stay positive? And then we'll move on to exactly how you do it, because I'm going to expect you to have some lessons.
I'd like to think that I'm a pretty positive kind of guy. And, life would suck if you weren't so positive. It would be really tough if your whole life you were never positive once.
True.
But I've seen you positive.
Yes. Oh, I can
so
be.
Don't sell yourself short.
It's when it's hard that I find it hard. Do you see what I'm saying? It's when
what you're saying.
You hit difficulties that I find this very, very difficult to stay positive. So I see you when you're teaching somebody and they're taking forever to get something, and it happens. And it's not just the kids, sometimes the adults too. And you constantly find something good about what they're doing, even if it's just because they're trying a little bit more than they were the previous time, and you find something to praise.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's, if people were telling you all the bad stuff that you were doing all the time, constantly, whether you ask for it or not, you're going to get chipped down. It's going to wear you down, and it's going to put you in a bad place. You're not going to be able to learn anything after that. So, the praise, correct praise is how we teach our younger instructors how to start that process. First you start off with telling them something that you want them to keep, something that's good, right? Your fists are really tight. They're so tight. That's awesome.
Good.
Let's try to fix now, hitting with those first two knuckles.
Right.
So we give a focus for something to fix, and then we also follow up with that so that we make sure that they do it properly, right? So as soon as they fix it, it's, yeah, all right, nice, you nailed it. So you have that praise of, you must keep this, keep doing this, you're doing good. Mm-hmm. But what you need to work on is this, and then once they get that, give them that follow-up praise, right? Keep them thinking positive.
But what if the positive takes a while? What if you say, okay, you're doing this one thing great, congratulations, keep this up. Now we need to work on this other thing, and it takes them weeks or months, or sometimes never, to get it. How do you keep finding things to praise?
Well, I don't know. Like there's different techniques and stuff. That's the basic one that we teach all our instructors on an early age.
Praise, correct praise.
Correct praise.
Okay.
People are going to listen to you more and respect you a little bit more for what you have to say.
And they'll like you more.
And they'll like themselves more.
Right.
But past that, there's some people that don't do well with praise, correct praise. They just, some people just want to get the nitty gritty. They want to get it down. But then it's kind of like that, you're keeping them positive through the process, right? It's being able to say, so let's take an adult, for example, because they tend to see through all our little teaching tricks. It's been used on them before.
Yes.
So an adult that has a hard time really nailing something, and they've spent now a couple weeks at it, and every time you come, your work, you're saying, hey, good job on this. You need to work on this still. We're getting better at it. They start to get a little deflated, a little defeated. But it's important to let them know that they're not the only one, and that everyone's been through it. And if you look at my happy face, and if you can see how positive I am, and I've been through that struggle, then you have that light at the end of the tunnel where, okay, this could get better. It could, whether they believe you or not, right?
What if they actively resist it? What if they say, and that could be a kid or an adult, I've had both say that to me, and I've said it myself, I'll never be able to get that. I will never. I have tried. It's been years. I just never remember this one, or I no matter how hard I try, I'm still doing it wrong.
Well, sometimes you got to play a little bit of tough love too. So if they start doing that, where it's I'll never get this. Be like, oh, maybe you won't, but maybe you're going to be figuring out this piece. So you start their focus somewhere else. That's where I would probably go with that. But it's that whole, if they're going to beat up on themselves, we usually try to stop the negative self-talk right away.
Right.
Hey, no negative self-talk.
Don't
That's
say,
my job.
Don't say I can't.
That's yeah, word is to swear at the dojo. There was a great like what's it called when they list out the letters? Can't. So certainly are not trying.
Right.
Yeah. So it's that was a great one that I saw on a T-shirt once. And I was like, oh,
Hey, maybe we can make that T-shirt. Yeah.
Yes. And so that just having that initial, hey, you're not allowed to say that.
That's a 4-letter word.
That's right.
You can't use it.
Just so that they're not stopping thinking that they can, right? And just being positive about it is going to get a better outcome than not. Like, you kind of give up on yourself the moment you say you can't.
That's true. Yeah.
You've completely given up on yourself, and you're not accepting any more help. Whether it's yourself or someone else.
Okay, there are times, though, and I speak from personal experience, when sometimes kind of giving up on one thing for a little while helps you cope with the rest of your life. Because, as important as karate is in my life, and I'm sure it is important in the life of a lot of other students, I have other things going, right? Sometimes and maybe I have difficulties in maybe my job, maybe my boss is being a particularly annoying person this week or something, and I have other things that are more important, or the priorities are a bit different, and I just need to give myself a break. And I say, you know what, I'll stop thinking about this particular thing that Sensei always tells me I need to improve on, even though he says I keep getting better, but for some reason it's really not, I'm not getting it. Is that okay? Are you allowed to be strategic about sometimes not being as positive as you should be?
Well, it's not, I would say it's not taking away the being positive about that one thing. It's like you said, setting it aside. It's creating a positive distraction for yourself, right? Not a negative one. Something that's going to be successful. As a teacher, that's what we try to do too, is, okay, well, that piece still needs work. However, check this part out that you're able to get to now, right? And then you throw them some more stuff to look at that gets their mind off of being,
stuck.
Not failing, but stuck, being stuck in the mud. So it helps. A positive distraction is a good distraction, right? It's gonna lift up your spirits, and then you might have that moment to relax, and you might see something. Like, sometimes it's a matter of seeing someone else do it, or hearing a different way to say it.
Right.
Like, how many times have you been in the dojo where we're teaching a kid and they're like, Sensei, check it out. I got this figured out. This other instructor told me that, when I turn my hips, I got to do it like this. And then you're just like, yeah, well, congratulations. High five. I haven't been telling you that for the last 2 years.
Right.
But it's just sometimes people respond differently to different instructors or different ways to say it. And I think that's probably what you see when I'm teaching and I'm trying to be positive is I don't give up on the idea, but there's a different way to look at it sometimes, right?
Right.
So you look at it a different way, and then you throw out, okay, well, close your fists tight. And then it's, okay, well, let's imagine that, you're so loosened at the end, you got to snap it in, kind of like the cracking of a whip, right? And then that doesn't work. Okay, well, let's stick pennies in your hand. Or, well, I guess they're kind of obsolete now. Some dimes in your hand, and you got to hold on tight. Every time you drop it, you have to do 5 push-ups.
Oh, dear.
Right? But if you make it through the whole kata, I'll do 10.
Right.
Right? So you keep it a positive game that way, just by challenging and challenging yourself as an instructor to find a different way to keep that person
important.
positive.
That's right.
Right? But it's a lot of it comes down to experience and saying the wrong things. There's some things that work for some people that don't work for others. And some people are also, they don't like positive stuff, like that positive reinforcement. They don't like that to be singled out, whether it's for a good thing or a bad thing, right? Usually those are your introverts that, so one person you could be like, oh, check out this guy. They're doing so good. I want you to demonstrate something. That might not work for everybody. They might actually go backwards, right? So it's just knowing your students and really knowing yourself as an instructor, being able to figure out where that positive silver lining is.
Does that even include sometimes passing the student on to someone else if you realize that you've tried several things and it's not really getting through, but you know that they have a rapport with another one of your instructors and saying, how about you try with this person? I've been working on them with them on this particular thing, and we're kind of stuck at the moment. See if maybe you can get it better, because I know for parents, you can tell your kid the same thing over and over again. Sometimes they don't listen to you, or for some reason it's just not getting through. You're not communicating right. But then someone else, a teacher, an aunt, an uncle, whoever, will say the exact same thing, and then the kid will, yeah, hey mom, guess what? Look what I've learned, and you just want to smack your head on the wall. It's just, yes, I know about this one. Does that include for you as a teacher sometimes taking a step back and saying, okay, because what matters is the result, what matters is the progress in the student, and if it means that sometimes I have to shut up and let someone else do it, then so be it.
Well, for sure, that's letting go of your ego as a teacher,
because
right?
It's not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you. I mean, I can think that I'm the best instructor in the world and stay positive about that. However, some people just aren't going to respond like the way I want them to respond. Right. And so, yeah, for sure, that's the benefit of having so many great instructors at Duvras where we are now. It's so great to have that depth, right? And then the pool of different ages, and there's guys, there's girls teaching, there's women, there's men, right? So yeah, there's definitely that opportunity to maybe not pass them around, but try them out with different people.
That's right. Because sometimes it will work better with a different person, and that's your job to make sure that the progress is as well as it could be, even if that means that suddenly you're not number one anymore.
And usually when I do that, I don't tell the instructors what's up.
Okay.
I just give them a job or give them the student, and then I say, okay, you're going to work on your shudos, and you're going to work on the kata here, and see if you can get the stances, and then I walk away, right? Just plant that seed, and hopefully it grows.
That's the best you can do. In your own experience, when you were a kid learning to teach, did you have great examples of really positive teachers? Like, where did you get that?
For sure. I mean, it's all passed on, right? It's that's sort of how the dojo works. Is everything is passed on from instructor group to instructor group, and even the peers in class, right? But I mean, I had so many great instructors that were always positive. I did have the drill sergeant instructors.
I was going to ask, did you have the
ones
bad
that
ones?
Well, I wouldn't say bad, because it was something that you needed too. You needed to feel that. But it was definitely the, it was complementary, let's put it that way. They complemented each other.
The yin
right?
and the yang.
Yeah, the yin and the yang. It was, can you be resilient enough to handle this one kata for an hour? And if you move when the instructor's not talking, you're doing push-ups, right? But you can still find positive stuff in that. At least I did. And I think that's part of why, or what I got out of it, was that, hey, look at me. I made it through half the kata and I'm not doing any push-ups, right? Even though my legs were dead because you couldn't move out of the stance. But yeah, I mean, one of the best teachers for that was John Marshall in London when I was working and teaching and training with him. I mean, it was the camaraderie in the class, the competitive nature of trying to be positive, really. Like, you were encouraged to cheer for each other. You were encouraged to show your confidence by going up in front of people, but then it was always explained, like, how do you give people confidence? You're cheering them on, and it wasn't not uncommon that if someone got stuck while performing, that somebody would just jump out, run out, and go help them, right? So there was this team atmosphere that was really well, really put into place really well, and it catches on. Think about it. You walk into a dojo your first time. You kind of look around, and you try to figure out where you're gonna fit, right? If you're a little unfocused, you're coming in, people are focused. Well, you're kind of the oddball for not being focused, right?
Right.
So it's cool to focus, right? You might be a little aggressive. You come in, everyone's even tempered. Well, it's going to be cool to be even tempered. Same thing with positive reinforcement, right? And being positive, being upbeat. It's contagious. You want to be part of the crowd.
What is there must be a line, because you see a lot, not necessarily in the dojo, but you see a lot in schools and where kids are being given medals just for showing up, and there's a lot of positive reinforcement about just about every aspect of their lives, and then somehow a lot of the kids grow up and they don't actually know how to do a lot of things. there is such a thing as too much self-esteem and not enough actual skills. Where's the line between making sure that you're positive enough that you help your students be confident and being so positive that you're almost lying about where they really are as far as being competent at what they're doing? And that's true for karate or anything else you're teaching them.
The first thing that comes to mind is that, to me, winning is not a positive reinforcement. It's a result, right?
Like at a tournament or something.
At a tournament, or you're talking about at school, know, everyone gets a medal, or in the sports, that's that sort of mentality. I don't see that as being the positive part that we're trying to teach. I think the positive part is how you handle the wins and the losses, right? And how you handle life. You got to be able to feel to learn, right? And so like it's important that your students feel not getting it too, right? Or not getting it when they want to get it. They have to feel that patience, and then your positive reinforcement comes when they show patience, right? It comes when they show resiliency. It comes when they show that they're not going to be defeated and give up because they lost once. They're going to practice harder, right? These are the things that positive reinforcement can be used for. Not just, high five.
Right.
Yeah, you did good. High five.
Because they're not stupid and they see it.
No, but they're also, what are you building, right? When you use positive reinforcement, it only works when you're catering to the stuff that you want them to keep. Right. If you're pulling a sheet over their head, you're hiding the fact that you're gonna feel good and bad, but there can still be positive out of it. Then somebody would be totally lost the first time they feel that effect of losing, or that effect of not getting something that they wanted.
Because that's what I see. And it worries me to bits when I see kids growing up and they're being sheltered and everything is, they're always awesome and they're always being praised as getting everything right, but they actually don't. And then the first time when they grow a bit older and the first time that they hit a real failure or defeat, or even if it's only temporary, they're crushed and they don't know how to handle it. So it's good to let the kids feel, especially when they're young, and the younger the better, I guess, to feel disappointment, to feel like, oh man, I didn't get it. I knew I could get this and I didn't win, or I didn't ace that test. I failed this, I failed that. And it's good to be able to know what that's like, and then to also be able to come back from that with the effort, with the work that's required to get over that failure and maybe not fail next time.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's what I try to do anyway. It doesn't always work, but we try our best.
And that's the difference between being positive and just giving up before you would have done all that, right?
Right.
So you got to be positive to get through those steps.
It just gets to me. Every time that I'm catching myself being positive, it's just like, part of me just wants to win. So I say, no, but I was enjoying the misery. And I can't be the only one like that. That's not a boast. That's very much a character failure on my part, but that's one that I'm working on. I'm trying to be more positive and trying to find things that are good. So when the kids fail at something or don't do as well as they wanted to at the very least praise the effort. Make them look back at how much they've improved since the last time. My kids or any other kids. Making them try to identify, once they're done crying over their defeat or failure, say, is there something that you've done better this time than last time? And try to make them identify something, pick something good about what they've done, even though the entire experience, or as far as they know right now, they're overwhelmed by their sadness or their frustration. But trying to change their focus a little bit to something good that they've done. And that I find watching this go, that this really helps them pick themselves up and try again. And when I saw that at some point, I thought, hey, I wonder if that would work on a 46-year-old kid. And I try to apply that to myself. So that's a mental exercise that I try to do when I don't do as well as or even when I do well, actually. I try to look back on things that I've done right and things that I still need to work on. But I try to finish. And that's key, I think. Yeah. Try to have my last thought be, but at least this, or at least that, right? No matter what else is happening, my stance is better, or no matter what else, suddenly I've fixed this problem that I had, and now I can feel good about myself. Woohoo! Okay, stop thinking about it. Move on to something else.
Yeah, and there's some, and just like you're saying with teaching and having those moments with your students and stuff, you get to learn from them just as much as you're teaching them, right? Is there a time where you were like, maybe you yourself, you weren't as positive as you could have been, but a kid kind of like switched you around, or somebody switched you around while you were teaching them that you can remember?
It happens, and when it does happen, I either get mad or I burst out laughing, and more frequently the latter. One of my kids, my middle one, she is, I don't know how she does it. She doesn't get it from me. I can guarantee you that. She will always find the silver lining in anything. I swear, in anything. Something terrible's happened. Well, at least we're not dead. And she's just completely cheerful about it. And you just have to turn around and laugh and say, yeah, at least we're all still alive. Woohoo! We can hold on to this and move on. Yeah, we managed not to die today. Yay! So when this happens to me more often than I let on, especially with this child that I have that does this to me, and she makes me burst out laughing. But then, yeah, she has a serious point.
Kind of puts it into perspective.
I know, she's teaching me lessons, and sometimes I look at, she's 8 years old, right? And I look at her sometimes, and she's been like this all her life, and she was 4 or 5 years old, and I would look at her and say, I want to be more like you. How do I be more like you?
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Right, but at the same time, part of me didn't really want to, so it's been a struggle for me, and it still is. But I'm working at it, and I'm going to praise my effort. I think I'm better slightly than I used to be, so I'll move on to something else now. I've had my positive thoughts. Let's just move on to something.
No, you have. I have noticed it on the floor and elsewhere. So you're right about that.
Yay! Outside of karate, so if you can ignore all this, were there times in your life when you really had to remember that being positive, like at school, family issues, anything, a challenge you had, or something that made you see the importance of really being positive?
Sure. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to have a bout of depression or anything like that. But definitely when I moved from London to Edmonton, my whole world had changed. It was a positive move for me. I wanted to do it. It was something that I made. I wanted to stay close to my family. I wanted to experience new things. But just having that lifestyle change, definitely my whole outcome, the way I act took a hit, right? And it was something where I went from having, friends of years, like many years, like neighborhood friends. We lived in the same house since I was 3. There was, my school friends, my karate friends. I had my karate training, my instructors. There's so much that I'm so busy of a kid that when I moved, it was in the summertime and there was no school. There was nobody around because in Edmonton, they all go on vacation in the summer because it's real cold in the winter.
Yeah.
And so, no one's to be found. I had started a new job and that was pretty, it was all right. It was family stuff, right? It was family business, but it was a tough transition.
You were, what, 16 at the
15,
time?
16.
So it's already tough being a teenager. I mean, I remember my time as not being always super positive.
But I was a pretty mature teenager, I would like to think.
Okay, then.
Okay, well, let's define
we'll check
mature.
with your mom.
But it was it was something that I had to figure out how to get through, and it was many thoughts crossed my mind, some very dark, and it was a tough spot for me because I had never felt like that before. Like it was foreign to me because I am such a positive thinker, and because my whole life I've had this positive vibe around me being in martial arts and around my friends and stuff. So I had to find it again. And
how'd you do it?
You know what? It was kind of like, to be honest, I don't really remember what the piece was that got me through. But knowing the steps that I was supposed to take, whether I wanted to do it or not. Putting your right foot in front of your left or your left in front of your right. But you knew that you had to take steps forward to get better. And eventually you kind of found that that vibe again.
It's like this saying that when you feel depressed, you should clean your closet. Because usually by the time you're done cleaning your closet, you feel better. And even if you don't, at least you have a clean closet. So you have something positive you can look back on and say, look at that closet, how clean it is. I'm awesome.
That's a perfect
It
analogy.
gives you something. When you are, so for people out there who may have experience with this, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling depressed or very negative about yourself, and you already know someone out there in your environment that is someone who is positive, you can go and talk to them and ask for help, and that's fine. But what if you don't know of anybody, or you don't know them enough and you're fearful of asking them, or you just don't dare do it? You're by yourself. What steps can you take? What positive things can you try to grab onto? Are there any mental strategies that you recommend if you're by yourself and you just don't know anybody you can go and ask?
No family to talk to,
no,
that sort of thing.
Or they don't get it. They don't get why you're sad. Because very often you'll be depressed about something or sad about something or negative, and you try to talk about this to
Sometimes
some of your,
that makes it worse.
and they say, oh, it's all in your head, or something like
Yeah.
They dismiss it, or they don't get it, and you feel like this is worse than not talking. So what mental strategies would there be other than cleaning the closet?
closet
is
is fun.
awesome. Yeah, a cupboard, anything. Clean something.
I would say just trying to think of what made you happy before, and then trying to go after that again. Like, you see, I know that's the tough part, is getting yourself out of bed,
Yes.
getting yourself off that first thing. But that's why I was saying that if you know that something is gonna make you feel good because of past experience, then you kind of have to force yourself to do it. You kind of have to kick your own butt into gear and say, all right, well, I'm upset now. I'm sad now. I'm not having any fun. You know, you kind of have to have that breaking point and then go, well, you know, how much less fun could I have by doing this? Right? It's kind of like a reasoning thing where you say, this is silly because I'm not doing anything and I'm not having fun. I might as well do something and not have any fun.
Right.
And eventually,
Just in case
I might have some fun. But that's the one foot in front of the other. You know the steps that you need to take. Just do it.
Would you try something else? Is that because sometimes for some people that works, right? Whatever they've tried in the past didn't really work, or for one reason or another, they can't anymore do what they were doing. So for some people, might have been into outdoorsy things, for instance, and they move into an inner city and suddenly the forest is far away and they can't get to it. So for them, doing some different activity might actually help. So you would go out and look for something new to do, but then what do you look for? Something that might bring you, like if you're looking for an outdoorsy feel in the middle of a city, that's going to be a hard one to get. What is going to remind you of the peace, the joy that you felt when you were in the woods?
Go on a road trip.
Right. Anywhere.
No, I know what you mean. It's basically, though, you have to kind of just get out that first step, right? Is get out the door and go do something.
Decide to try something.
Yeah, decide to try something, whether it's new or old, right? And you know, sometimes diving into stuff is the best way to get out of your funk, because you experience things with people. Or if you don't want to see any people, then you know, you do something like a nature walk, like you were talking about, or do a little research for it.
Go garden or something.
Yeah, go do something.
Take a new challenge, because often that will, especially if it's something difficult or something you're not naturally good at, it will keep all your energies focused on that one thing and get better at. For me, it would be gardening if I actually had any time, and if I found myself needing something new, because I have a brown thumb of death, and if I could just manage to grow one tomato, like, to me that'd be a huge victory. And so I would really focus all my energy on that and say, I will grow a tomato that I will eat myself with salt and pepper, and that will be my own victory. So it doesn't matter how silly
I feel like
it is.
this is something
right?
that's come from like deep down here.
What can you
One
hear
day-
the intensity
one
in
day,
this?
Bridget, you
One
will.
day I will grow my
You will
tomatoes.
grow a darn good tomato.
And possibly cucumbers to go with it. But it doesn't matter how silly it is. Because growing a tomato, for some people, are used to this. And I have friends who grow so many tomatoes that they shower me with baskets of the stuff. To them, that would be kind of silly. So, well, anybody can grow tomatoes. See, I grow more than I really want to. But to me, that would be a big deal. So if you're in that situation and you think of something, you say, well, maybe that's silly. People will make fun of me or whatever because it's just a tomato. So what? If to you it is a big deal, and to you it's something you really want to do and you think it's going to make you happy, go for that tomato.
Yeah, and you made me think just talking in that thing. I don't know why it came up in my brain, but there's been a time where I've been in a funk and I've actually told myself that I was just gonna say yes to everyone.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And it was a fun time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it was a good time, and you know, some interesting and different things came about, right? Like, you know, hey, you wanna go for a road trip down to yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
And then they kind of look at you like, what? Did he just say yes without thinking? You know, and you start to get in a habit of just saying yes and
Yes.
doing these things that, I mean, within reason.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's you don't want to put yourself in danger, but definitely being a yes man or a yes woman, it can get you out of a funk. I've gotten myself out because of that.
You know what? Somebody got to that and made it famous before you did, even though their experience happened, I think, after yours. So see, you missed an opportunity there. Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
She was a famous creator of TV shows, hit TV shows. She's a big deal in American television. And she was in a kind of a space like that and decided to try that. For a year, she said yes to everything. And she had, if you look it up, my year of saying yes to everything, there's a big TED Talk about it. And she's written a book about it, too, that became a bestseller, I believe. I can put in the blog post that goes with this podcast, I will put a link to the TED Talk and her book. And so if people are curious, they can go and look this up. But she did that experience.
I'm gonna have to look
that
it
experiment.
up.
And I read the book and I found this amazingly inspiring and scary at the same time, because my life is already so busy and hers was too. I said, how could you possibly do that without going crazy? I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day. How do you do that? But she talks about all this. And obviously this can be taken too far, but she really went for this. And to her, it changed a lot of things in her life in a very good way.
Yeah.
So there's something to that too. So I'll make sure that we have the link so people who may find inspiration there will be able to find it quickly through a direct link. Anything else you wanted to add about this?
So taking it, you know, we talked about being in the dojo, being positive, teaching, being positive, taking it home, getting yourself out of a funk. I don't know.
Can you take breaks from being positive without losing that positivity? Because there are moments when I need a mental break, I have to confess. And sometimes when I just need to be home and do something else and just not have to work at being positive, to me that's a break, and that's very necessary. Is that okay?
Some people it's natural though, Brigitte. that's where the positive is just who they are. But I can see what you mean. It's like taking that breather of kind of trying.
Not to mope or anything,
hard.
but just to take a break from working so hard at it. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, be you.
Okay.
Right?
You.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Being you is a good thing.
Yay.
I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying that it's definitely like, you know, some people you have to work at being positive to keep people positive around you, right? But you know, do you when you're home. Do you when you're going home or whatnot. That was the nice thing about living outside of the city, was I had a half hour to warm my brain up and to cool it off after teaching so many people.
And
right?
sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a bit of a brain dump.
And I know what you mean now. Now that I'm saying that, I know what you mean, because you know, you put out a lot of good vibes, you put out a lot of energy, and some people around you are not as positive about taking that energy and giving it back. They just take.
And they suck
They suck you dry. So I do know where you're coming from now that you say that. So yeah, that would be the do you part, is whatever is going to make you re-energize, right? Like kind of regenerate. If it's to sit down and do nothing,
read a book with a glass of wine, that does a lot of good.
Listen to music, go on a walk, punch a bag.
That's good too.
These are all things, but yeah, you kind of have to have some energy to be able to give it, right?
Right.
So that's an important piece. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So it's okay to fail sometimes or not be as good on your road to being positive. That's still, because you're still on the road to being positive, you're still okay.
As long as you're staying positive about the good and the bad.
And seeing your missteps and temporary setbacks or needs for break as what they are. You're not kidding yourself about that, but saying, okay, but that's part of my growth. And I'm good in the long term, or even the medium term. Tomorrow I'll be better, and that's okay. I need that little break. I'll take it, but I'm still going to be waking up tomorrow morning, back at it, and working again to be and stay positive as long as I can before I need my next break. How about that?
That'll work for me.
That's a good strategy,
That's
right?
a good strategy because you're still thinking about how you can overcome.
Right.
So you're still staying positive.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
I think we should end on this high note.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks
High
for that.
five.